Hello, and welcome to Ignite Your Personal Brand Virtual Summit. I'm your host, Darlene Hawley, and I am so excited to kick off 2019 with these powerful stories and trainings to help you create an authentic, magnetizing, and profitable brand and business. In this series, I'll be interviewing amazing women who will be sharing their story for why they started their journey into entrepreneurship, and they're sharing their top tips to make an impact on your bottom line to create a thriving business in 2019. And I am so excited today to talk all things Instagram with my guest, Dee. Welcome, Dee.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited and happy to be here, Darlene. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on with us. Instagram is one of my favorite platforms to spend my time these days.
I know, right?
I am so excited to jam and talk about all things Instagram. So before we get started and really start talking about Instagram, though, I'd love to know a little bit about you and kind of your entrepreneur journey. Like, what got you to into business?
Sure, absolutely. Well, my journey is actually a little different from everyone else's. Before I got into entrepreneurship, I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time. I was a stay-at-home mom for two kids who were 6 and 1 at that time. It had been like that for many, many years, ever since I got pregnant with my first one. And for a long time, I was really happy just being a stay-at-home mom and just being with my kids all the time and doing all the school activities, the crafts, taking them to the playground, taking them to the museums. And then after a while, especially when my second one turned 1, there was like this hollow feeling inside of me, which said that, okay, this is great. Like I've mastered being a mom, but what about me? Like, what about Dee? Like, what does she want and where does she want to go? So I dabbled with the idea of getting back to work for a little bit, but it somehow didn't really excite me that much. And then I was talking to an entrepreneur and she had an online program. So that was my first introduction to the online business community. And she had a Facebook group. And I asked her if I could just be in the Facebook group and just, grow her engagement, just, motivate people to engage more and drive results. And we just did that as a trial. And I loved doing it. She loved having the help. And it was a huge, huge success. People got results. There was so much engagement. And as a result, her brand grew. And then we did some marketing stuff. And that's basically how I got into it. And after a while, I was doing it. And really, I was just doing it as a side hustle. So I would just do it when my kids were at the park, on my phone, and when they were in bed. And it was really easy because I didn't have to have a time. There was no 9 to 5. I could do it on my own time. And I could do it on my phone. All I needed was the Facebook app and myself. So after doing it for a little bit of time, I was like, hey, there's maybe something in it. Maybe I can turn this around, and instead of doing it as a side hustle or like a freelance opportunity, I can just make it a business. And I started digging around, and that's when I found my calling and found my niche, and I started doing it. And then I found Instagram, and I was already on Instagram, for my personal side of the life, sharing my kids' photographs and everything. But it had never even occurred to me that you could use Instagram for business. And when I found out that it was such a wonderful platform because there were already all these customers here who were interacting with brands, there was like a light bulb moment. And I loved Instagram. I just love the platform, the energy that people have. It's somehow very, very different from Facebook. It's somehow it feels like it's almost like the cool kids club.
Yeah, for sure.
It does, right? So that's basically how I got started, and I love it.
That's amazing. Yeah, and it's so fun to get into Facebook groups or get onto Instagram and start building those connections.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's the best part. That's like how you and I met, right?
Yeah, exactly. Through a Facebook group. Wonderful. Yeah. So what was it about Instagram that really sparked your interest? I know you said you started with Facebook and you loved building those relationships. What was it about Instagram that pulled you in, though?
So there were several things. First of all, I felt like Facebook's engagement was tanking. They were making all these changes, and business pages weren't really getting a lot of engagement on Facebook. Facebook groups were not getting a lot of engagement. And Instagram was this, like I said, the cool kid on the block, and everybody was flocking to Instagram, and it was already a very underutilized platform. So there were brands there were personal brands there, but everybody was just trying to figure it out. Nobody knew how to do it right. And people were getting a lot of results from Instagram than Facebook. And that's why, so for a while, I was actually doing both Facebook and Instagram. But it was like I would do a post on Facebook, even for my own business page, and I would probably get like 6 likes and, 5 comments or something like that. But if you do that on Instagram, I would immediately start making a lot of connections. There were a lot of DMs happening. I was able to get a lot of leads for myself and for the clients that I was working in. So I feel like the ROI is definitely more on Instagram right now than it is on Facebook, especially when you're not paying for ads. And that's when I not only enjoyed doing it, I felt like I could get like faster results than just doing Facebook. And of course, it's usually combined. So I wouldn't say that I don't do Facebook at all, but Instagram definitely gets you more ROI on your time spent on the platform.
Yeah. And I love Instagram too, because the photos draw people in. So you're able to kind of draw people in by the photo that's there. And then they start looking at your great content below it. So they're able to engage more. Where Facebook, sometimes they're scrolling through so quickly. There's not necessarily a photo to go with it. It doesn't have that big draw and attraction in as much as Instagram does. So some of my clients use Instagram. They use it for their personal side. They use it for their business, but not all of them really knew exactly how to engage to start getting like an ROI, like you were saying, like using it for business to where they're actually getting results for it. So what are some of the best like tips for getting immediate action and results and making that impact on Instagram? Like what are the top things that we should do to have that come to us?
Sure, absolutely. So first of all, I would like to say that Instagram, like if you look at it from a business perspective, it's a marketing platform, right? And like any other marketing platform, it takes time to build those relationships. So even though you would be able to get immediate engagement, it might take some time for the person who started following you for her to start following you, to get on your website and then buy from you. So it's like any other market. It's not a magic pill. You'll have to do things to build that relationship. But of course, there are different things that you can do to like hook those people in or attract your ideal customers. And one of the first things that I say to people is just see what you're saying on your bio, like on your profile. Does it mention clearly who you're serving? Does it mention clearly what's the benefit that you provide? So I see a lot of bios that would say that, let's say health coach, currently I'm vacationing in Greece, next stop, I don't know, Albania, or I'll be in Thailand. And basically that doesn't do anything for me as an interested customer. Like it's interesting. Okay. You have a great life. You are a health coach. You have a great body. You have a great life, but what's in it for me? Why should I follow you? So I feel like if you can zone down on your bio and make it really specific to who your ideal customer is, speak to them, and what's your USP? Like, what is it that you do for people? Then it would immediately attract people in. So that's the first thing. That's my first tip to anybody who's starting on Instagram or who wants to revamp their Instagram, is to look at your bio, look at your profile, and see what it says. The second thing is, of course, your content. So when people start following you, especially brands, pictures are definitely important. So Instagram is, I would say, a cross between a photo sharing platform and a storytelling platform. So if your pictures are like blurred and dark, then it's not going to stop the scroll. So there are 2 things that I talk about in Instagram marketing. The first is stopping the scroll with your pictures, which should be like, I wouldn't say they should be Pinterest worthy or, like beautiful and professional, but they should be in light, they should be clear, and they should be pretty to look at, right? And then second thing is, so you stop the scroll with your pictures, and then you convert them through your captions. So what are you saying in your captions, or what kind of content that you're producing? And I feel like that is the most important thing, and people miss the point. So they kind of go behind the tactics a lot, that I'll follow a lot of people in the hope that they will follow me back. I will use these many hashtags, 5 hashtags, 11, 30. So they start thinking about all these things. And what happens is that they might start getting followers, they might not. But the idea, if you're a business, if you're an online entrepreneur, or if you have a small business, if you have a shop, or a service, if you're a service-based entrepreneur, your purpose to be on Instagram is not to get followers. It's to get followers who would at some point of time become your customers. So if you're not doing that, then you're missing the point of being on Instagram, and you're wasting all your time there. So I suggest, and that's what I tell the people who do my course and my clients, that instead of focusing on, okay, I need to get 1,000 followers, we are going to focus on, I have 700,000, 1,200 followers. What can I do to convert those followers into my customers? Or as I say, super fans. And creating content which really speaks to your ideal client, which provides a lot of value to them, and they can really feel that, okay, this is how she can help me, is what's going to change that.
Yeah. So what do you recommend as far as, so a lot of clients post what they have, what their business is, kind of what kind of work they do. What is a good balance for that personal story? I know I like to work a lot with my clients on sharing their story, sharing different aspects about their life. What's like a good, not necessarily ratio, because I don't want to say like post 5 personal pictures and 1 business, but what's a good way to balance that to make sure that you're showing up with what your business is, but then being human and being real and showing kind of the backside of your life as well?
Right, absolutely. I feel like you can mix and match everything together. So you can actually, have your personal story ingrained even when you're doing a business post, in the sense when, so I like to talk about aligning your content with your customers' needs, worries. So, what are their frustrations, and what are their hopes and dreams, and what are the things that they worry about? So for example, that if you are a health coach, and one of the things that your ideal client worries about is midnight cravings. Like, she cannot stop eating chocolate in midnight, and she knows that that's the basic factor in her gaining all that weight, and she's not able to lose it. And you know that a lot of women have these midnight cravings. So can you create a post about that, which talks about how to manage midnight cravings, or can you involve a personal story about that? So you can talk about that. At 3 years down the line, 3 years before, I was this mom who was sitting in front of a cabinet with the candies that my kids got from Halloween, and I was picking that out. True story, by the way. That's my true story.
I was like, wait, I thought you were talking about me for a minute.
I literally just threw out the candy last week. I was like, enough, I can't do this anymore. But these are the 5 things that I did, and that changed my life. And I feel so much happier. I am so much healthier now. And immediately you are building that trust. First of all, you're building that relatability with your ideal client, that, okay, I get it. I'm not the only one. She also done it, and there are plenty of women who've also done it. So you're establishing that relatability factor, and then you're establishing that trust factor that, okay, if she's done it and these are the things, then there's no harm. Let me try it. And immediately you have established the know, like, trust factor. And the next step is for them to go out and check your website.
Yes. So good.
Thank you.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about hashtags. You mentioned a minute ago, like 5 hashtags, 1 hashtag, 30.
Right.
Everybody says there's a different number. What's the magical number for hashtags? And do you put them in your post? Do you put them in your comments? Because I'm super confused on it, I know, because everybody has different information. So what do you feel is the best way to handle hashtags in your business to grow?
Right. So first of all, I'm going to tell everybody that hashtags is something, so everything on Instagram, which is Instagram has created themselves, is like the number of likes that you can get, or how many people your post is going to be shown to. It's very algorithm based, okay? And nobody has any idea what's going on. Right? So all they can do is guess, try, and fail and succeed, and we can see what works for you. But as far as, so things with hashtags keep changing. So don't hold me on it. If you are recording this in December and February, Instagram goes ahead and changes something. But right now, what's happening with hashtags is that hashtags are, so first of all, hashtags are like SEO keywords, right? So if you put a hashtag, if someone's looking at the hashtag, your post can come up and they can find your account. So my suggestion is that if they're like SEO keywords, if they help your account get found, and if you are given a limit by Instagram to use 30 hashtags, then why use 5? Or why use 11? Why not use all 30, right? So, so I recommend using all 30 hashtags. And then the reason why I recommend putting hashtags not in your main post, but in your comments is because when you, like I said, when you are attracting people to your account, you are stopping the scroll with the photograph and then really reeling them in and hooking them in with your captions. So ideally, if you want people to reel them in or hook them in with your captions, you don't want their attention to go on those block of 30 hashtags, which are right there in the face. So that's why I like to use my hashtags in the comment section. What works better, what doesn't work better, they're both the same. Okay. So you can do either way. The only reason why I suggest putting them in the caption is that you don't want people to focus on the hashtags, but you want them to focus on the content, because that's what's gonna, like I said, establish the relatability, like, no, and trust factor.
Yeah, because they don't really care about the hashtags. They just want to read the content, see what's going on. So the hashtags are really more a backside for you for that SEO. Yes,
exactly.
Perfect. And so how do you know what hashtag to use? Like, there's so many hashtags out there. There's so many ones that you can create for yourself that you use on a regular basis, and then it links into other people. How do people use hashtags? Like, I've noticed when I make an Instagram post, sometimes I'll use a different hashtag and I'll get a lot of followers all of a sudden. Or I'll have people that come into my group.
Right.
I don't personally go into hashtags though and look for them to link into my account. And maybe I'm doing something wrong. Tell me if I am. But, like, what's the secret to? Are people searching for those hashtags and really trying to like get their ideal audience off of that, or what do they use it for?
So people do search for hashtags to look for accounts that they might be interested in. So that's one. So they do that. And even though like you and I might not be doing that, there are definitely people out there who are searching, looking at hashtags, and then they find accounts they want to follow, or they want to find accounts they just are interested in looking at the content for. That's one. The second thing is when you use the hashtags, your post can turn up in someone's explore page. So, top, like Google top 10 links. So Instagram's algorithm it's amazing, right? It works in a way that it will show you, it curates content for you. It will show you content on the things that you like and you are the kind of content that you're interested in. So let's say if I am already following a lot of, let's take the example of health coach. So I'm following a lot of health coaches or, health, the brands like Whole Foods and other. So Instagram knows this about me, that Deepshikha loves to follow accounts which are related to health. So if you use hashtags which are in the same industry, your post can turn up in my explore section. And when that comes, then I can see then if your photograph is good, your content is good, I'll be like, oh, this is interesting. I find her interesting and I can go ahead and like that or follow you. So that's how hashtags work. Now, how should you choose them? I say you should choose them based on a few things. So firstly, what do you do? And secondly, what kind of people you're trying to attract. So for example, I am an Instagram marketing strategist. So I would probably use hashtags which defines what I do. So hashtag Instagram marketing, hashtag Instagram stories, hashtag Instagram strategy. And who's my ideal client? My ideal client are small businesses or online entrepreneurs. So I will use hashtags which define them. So let's say hashtag business coach or hashtag online entrepreneurs or hashtag small business owners or women in business. So combine both of them together. And I also do recommend changing your hashtags every now and then, because if you use the same hashtags on every post, they might not work well for you. So I recommend making a block of 30 hashtags or maybe 30 to 60 hashtags in your notes app. So do that research once and for all. Just sit on your app and look at the hashtags that you want to search for, what defines you, your ideal client. And I'd highly recommend going inside each and every hashtag and seeing that if it resonates with your brand and what you do. Just because there's so many hashtags on Instagram that have been really abused by people. So even though when I say business coach, let's say that might have been used by a lot of accounts that do a lot of spam, right? So you don't want to use that hashtag and attract spammy accounts. So you really want to go into each hashtag and see if it resonates with the content that's already there. So if it's the kind of content that you would be sharing and that's the content that's already there on that hashtag, then use it. If it looks spammy, I would say with a lot of quotes, especially when you use something related with health, definitely be very, very careful, because there are a lot of pornographic images as well. So you want to stay clear of that. So do that research, have those blocks of hashtags ready on your notes app, and use and switch them up every now and then. So the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs I see making is making a post and then they do their hashtag research at that time and then they add their hashtags. And that takes up a lot of time. And because you're doing it on the fly, you might not be choosing the right hashtags. As a result, you're not really attracting your ideal customers. So this is something that you should do before and have it prepared on your notes app, on a Google Doc, or maybe even on a piece of paper.
I'm so glad that you shared that, because that used to be me. I used to constantly do my post and then sit there and think of 30 different things, having no clue whether they were relevant or what it was actually linking to. And probably about a month ago, I sat down and did what you just shared. I went in and said, all right, let's go to these different hashtags and see what kind of content is actually being posted. Is it relatable? Is my ideal client looking for these types of things? And I've created different hashtag groups, and I can sometimes I pair them up together. Sometimes I use one of the groups and I might add a couple of different things depending on what my post is, but it's been a game changer in just my brain mentality of being able to come up with the right hashtags.
Right.
For a while there, I was literally like, okay, I'm at 23. I need 7 more. What else could I post here?
Yes. And that ends up taking a lot of time too, right? And we are all business owners and we have a ton of shit to do. Yes. So I don't advocate for spending even a minute extra on Instagram that you don't have to. And also, Darlene, I'm so glad that you brought it up, because it completely skipped my mind, having categories or having, different styles of hashtags with relation to what you're going to post. So let's say if you post about business, you post about, let's say, motivation quotes, or you post about women empowerment. It's a good idea to have those categories as well, so that, again, you're not coming up with them on the fly. You have that categories all together. I'm so glad that you're switching them up as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like one of the I post about my business, personal stuff, but one area that I love to talk about is self-care. So I have a separate set of hashtags. So when I'm talking about self-care or how to take care of yourself, and I can use those hashtags versus just my normal business ones as well.
Right.
So good. So I have a question. This came to my mind right now. I recently was listening to a podcast and they were saying that you should keep your Instagram account as a personal account versus switching it over to a business account. And I was kind of baffled for a moment, because when I started using Instagram for my business, I automatically switched my account to business and wanted to focus in that direction. I'm curious, what are your thoughts? If somebody has a personal account right now and they have a business too, should they switch that over to a business account if they're sharing business, or do they leave it personal?
I would say it's completely your choice. There are definitely two kinds of philosophies to it. And one philosophy is that from what Facebook did with Facebook, they created Facebook pages and they said, oh, you know what, we're going to send you tons of traffic, create your business Facebook page. And then they changed the algorithm and then people had to pay for traffic. So that's really why people are a little hesitant in switching to business account. The difference, I should probably tell your listeners, is that on a personal account, you don't get access to Instagram analytics, versus on an Instagram business account, you get those analytics and you can, but I think you can run ads on both the accounts, business account and personal account. So I would definitely say it's personally your choice. There was a lot of talk, I think a year ago, that, once you switch to a business account, you're going to lose your engagement. I personally did that. So I started with a personal account, and then after 6 months, I switched it to a business account. And I didn't really see that much of a change. I really think that all these things are just, and first of all, we don't have control over it. So we don't know how the algorithm runs. As long as you are creating great content and attracting people in with your content, people would want to hear from you, irrespective if you have a personal account or business account. And if people are interested in your content, there is no reason for Instagram not to show your account to other people, because you're really proving to Instagram that, hey, you know what? There are people who are liking and commenting on my account and they are interested. So you are really showing the algorithm that you're the boss and your account is really doing great. So I would just leave it to your choice. It's definitely a personal choice.
No, perfect. It came up while we were talking. I was like, I did just hear this. I'm like, did I totally shoot myself in the foot by switching to a business account? Should I not have, or should I go back to personal?
You know what, Darlene, I personally love having a business account because I have access to those analytics and I don't have to pay an external app to do that. And I can tweak my content. I know what time my followers are most active. So I can do a ton of stuff looking at those numbers, which is important. Otherwise, it's like throwing darts in the dark. You don't know what you're doing unless you pay an external app and have access to those analytics.
Yeah. And we don't own Instagram. We don't own Facebook. So all these social media platforms, we could have 10,000 followers, but we don't own the platform on it.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about how do we get the engagement from our Instagram account, and how do we use the link that we have on Instagram to draw that traffic in so we can get them on our newsletter, where we own that information and we're able to continue to engage and nurture our audience. What are some of your top tips for utilizing that link space for growing your audience?
Sure. And you hit the nail on the head. And that's what I talk about too. I always say that having 10,000 followers on Instagram is like having a lot of money in Monopoly. So it's not real, right? You can have 10,000 followers, but they might not convert, right? So it's extremely important for you to utilize, to optimize that link in the bio. And how you do it is, first of all, having a killer reason for people to opt in or to click on that link in bio. So, creating a lead magnet, or let's say if you want people on a newsletter, or, drive them off from Instagram, let's say to a Facebook group, anything. I highly recommend doing a lead magnet, because then you're directing people straight away to your newsletters, you're growing your email list, and you can use that to build that and nurture that relationship there. So, but having a killer lead magnet, which talks directly to the needs of the customers and your clients, and talking about it again and again. So you have that in your bio, and I highly recommend having that on your profile as well. So a call to action. So if you have your profile which says that I help busy women get fit, or I help busy working women get in their skinny jeans, let's say, get my 10 recipes which will melt fat. And then you put a down arrow or a down finger, and then you put the link in the bio. So that is one. That's the first thing that people will see. So it immediately, you have your profile, you've defined who you're serving, busy women, and you've said that, okay, this is what I do. I help you get fit, or I help you get in your skinny jeans. Oh my God, I want that. And 7 easy meal plans that you can make in under 10 minutes or in 30 minutes, whatever is a lead magnet. Really, I really want that. So I click on that link in the bio. So that's one. The second is also talking about your lead magnet on your Instagram posts every now and then, and doing stories. Stories is something definitely I would want all your listeners to start using. They are really, really powerful. And you have a chance to get in front of your customers, just flip the camera and talk to them really face to face, like an Instagram live, but shorter content. So keep promoting them, but also keep nurturing a relationship with your viewers, with your audience through your Instagram content. Either it's through stories or your captions, and then keep talking about that. So people need to be reminded again and again. So I would definitely say consistency is key. So keep showing up on Instagram. Don't do one post and then run away for 2 weeks and then come back. When you do that, then people, you're not really giving a chance for people to know you and to like you. So when you keep showing up again and again, and talking to them about their needs, about their frustrations, including storytelling in your content, then you are reeling them in and really urging them to click that link in the bio.
Yeah. And you just mentioned Instagram stories. We haven't talked much about stories. So what I've noticed with Instagram stories that a lot of people are using that to kind of show a behind the scenes kind of what life really looks like, what their business looks like, what they do with their family. They're doing they're hopping on doing some mini videos just to kind of share what they're thinking about at that moment. What are the best ways if someone's not currently using stories as part of their marketing strategy? What's the best things they can do, and what types of things should they share, and how often should they share them?
I actually recommend doing stories every day if you can. So this is, so data is now showing that people are watching more stories than they are staying on the feed. So even if you don't want to post on Instagram, I would say post 2 to 3 times a week on your Instagram main feed. But if you can, do stories every day. If you can't do every day, then every other day, definitely. And you're right, people are using it to show their, behind the scenes. But I feel like when you include that with, again, great content, valuable content, you're combining both aspects. So you're not only creating a personal brand where they're seeing you as a brand, the face of your brand, and not just a company, not just a logo, but you're also showing them, giving them valuable content. So for example, you can do a how-to, right? You can do a how-to video and show it on Instagram stories. If you're an artist, you can flip your camera, and while you're making a painting, you can show them the process. If you're like, let's say, a home decorator, you can bring them in a house and tell them that, pick a corner and tell them that how would you redecorate that and why did you do that. So there are a lot of things that you can do in your industry to give them a little value, so that also gives them a reason to go and check the link in your bio. People who have 10,000 followers do also get a swipe up feature. So once you have 10,000 followers, if you do, you can add the link on your stories, and you can immediately have a call to action that new lead magnet, new training, new workshop, swipe up. But even if you don't have that, you don't have to wait to get 10,000 followers. You can still, if your content is great, if you're really helping people and they're finding value in it, people are not going to swipe up. People are going to go find your link in the bio and then click on it and get on your email list.
Yes, I love that. So as we start to kind of wrap up our time together, if people were to focus on one part of Instagram, what would be the one thing that you would want people to kind of take away, kind of your top tip to help them make an impact to grow their business and maybe grow their bottom line too while they're at it?
Well, Darlene, it's a tough question to answer, because there really isn't one thing on Instagram that is going to make an impact, but it's like moving parts. It's all together. So I wish I could say that you can just creating great content, but don't use hashtags. Well, that's also not going to work. So I would say if you're starting, I would say start small, get your hashtags ready, work on your profile, and start posting maybe 2 times a week. Just focus on putting great content out there. And for that, you need to be able to understand who you serve, like who your ideal customer is. And also after that, once you've got used to posting, then the next step is Instagram stories. So one thing that I would recommend everybody is to get on the stories train. So even if you are not posting that regularly, I would definitely want you to start creating stories, because that is like where it's at right now.
Okay, perfect. And I love that, because people know to post their content on their feed, but I know a lot of my clients aren't using stories, and even myself, I'm guilty of this as well. I'll post a couple things here and there, but I don't use it consistently. And I think I need to make that shift of just showing up every day and kind of showing what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and making that connection. Because what I work with my clients on is really just building yourself up. Like, you're your personal brand. Most of us are our personal brand with our business. Mm-hmm. So my face is my brand. This is me. So showing up and being more relatable and connecting in that way, I think is going to be a game changer for a lot of us as we go into 2019. I know for myself, 2019 is going to be about being bold and being visible.
Awesome.
So that's definitely a way that I can shift as well with everybody else, and making sure I'm utilizing those stories and really connecting with my audience, because it is a lot about, it's not really about me. It's about them, how I can connect with my audience.
Right. And I think that's where a lot of people misunderstand Instagram. They feel like it's about them. Like, it's about showing their life, their personality, their everything. It is good to include that, because your audience definitely wants to know you, but most of it is about your audience, is about them. If you just keep talking about yourself, if you're the Kardashian, amazing. Like Kim Kardashian can post a picture of a doorknob and she would still get a lot of engagement.
Yes.
Whereas us will have to do a little bit more than that.
We have to show the whole door.
Absolutely. And much more.
Perfect. Well, I know I've personally learned a ton just from talking with you today.
Thank you. I'm so glad.
And I know our audience is going to want to connect and learn more about how to work with you. And so what are the best ways for them to find you? Obviously, they're going to find you on Instagram. That's going to be your number one place.
Yes, that's where my party is at. I'm at Social League, and I'm sure you would put that in the notes somewhere. And they can find me on my website, which is www.sociallegroup. I spell group the French way, which is with the E at the end, .com. And Instagram is where really my party is at. And I have a lot of cool resources, which are on my Instagram, on my website. And one of the resources that we were talking about, stories, is to get people started, is a 7-day Instagram stories roadmap. So for people who are hesitant and who don't know really what to do, I have a 7-day step-by-step, what to do. This is a feature that you press. This is what you do. And that really gets people comfortable with stories and get them started, and they start seeing results immediately.
Wonderful. And I will definitely have that link for that resource attached to this video. So if you guys are watching this video and you need to work on your Instagram stories, definitely take Dee up on this resource, because I know the value that she provides and all of her resources are amazing. So Dee, thank you so much for joining me today. So many great nuggets, so many things that I know myself and everybody who's watching the summit is going to be able to take and start utilizing their business to create that thriving business that they're looking for in 2019. So thank you so much, Dee.
Thank you so much for having me. This was such a pleasure. Great.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.